What's up, my Blender family? Thanks again for checking out one of our classes. If you are interested in doing any of the other Marvel characters like Dr. Octopus or Venom, just let us know. Check out the description and we will get you absolutely free links to our Skillshare class. All you gotta do is let us know. Enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome to this Blender tutorial. I am Nino and I'm working with William and EduCraft Ideas. Today we're going to make a nice stylized version of Spider-Man, and we're not going to add too much details because we want to keep it nice and simple and nice and stylized. So let's get into Blender. That's the program we're using. Let me enable my screencast keys real quick. There we go. And now we're off. So we're going to start by deleting this default cube. We're going to go to Edit and Preferences because we need to set something up first. Go to Add-ons and search for Extra. And just enable Add Mesh Extra Objects. Hit this little box and press Menu and Save Preferences. There we go. Close this window. And now we can actually press Shift-A, add a mesh, and add a round cube. There we go. Open the settings box real quick and set the radius to 1. So we're going to add a modifier and add a subdivision and just set it to 2 for now. We can always change that later. Press numpad 3 or 1, whatever you'd like. I'm going to press numpad 3 because I want to have the y-axis in the, let's say, the landscape direction. Just because I'm used to that. And I'm going to press tab. Press 1 on my keyboard, enable X-ray right here on the top corner, and select this whole right side, delete vertices. All right, now add a mirror modifier. There we go, set this to Y and move this in front of the subdivision modifier. And now we've got a nice mirrored half sphere. Right, so this is what we're going to use to create a character. We're going to press tab, and we're just first going to make the shape of the character before we're going to worry about the materials, the colors, and the texture of Spider-Man. So we first want to create our nice base model for the character. Okay, so we're going to press G and Z, and actually, let me see, we're going to enable proportional editing tool first. It's right there, this little button. And it means that we can use a vertex to move the vertices around with it. So we're going to select this top one and this bottom one by holding Shift and press S, Z. And we're just going to scale this whole face up a little bit, like so. By holding Shift and press G and Z, move that up a little bit, like so. And I think for now, this is going to be fine. Right, so let's worry about the body next. So we want pretty much the same kind of work that we just did for the head. So we're going to press Shift A, we're going to press Mesh, and Round Cube. There we go. It is going to be the same settings as the previous one, and we're going to hold Shift and select the first one, press Ctrl L on your keyboard, and press Copy Modifiers. There we go. So now our new sphere is all set up. All right, let's move the subdivision modifier in front of the mirror modifier for both of our pieces. And select this right side, press delete vertices. There we go. And now we move the mirror in front of the subdiv. Right, that should be fine. Okay, so let's select our body, press GZ, and I'm just going to move that up right here. We're going to press tab, press numpad 3, and we're going to scale the body to how we want it. So I'm going to select this bottom vertex, press GZ, and just move that all down a little bit without selecting or without moving the top part, something like this. And I'm going to press S and Y and just scale the body like this. And I'm just going to create my arms out of this body, which should be a little bit harder maybe because we don't have separate objects, but I think we could be fine. So we're going to delete this vertex right here, delete vertex. I'm going to press 2 and double click on this edge, right mouse, loop tools, and circle. So now it is a nice circle. I'm not sure why it's being so weird. they're all twisting a little bit. So let's see if we can twist this back a little bit. Just custom. Yeah, that should be fine. All right, so now we've got our nice start of the arm. I think it is a little bit big, so let's scale this down. Something like that. That is looking beautiful. Like so. And we can even move this up a little bit. Like that. All right, so let's extrude this because we want to have some shoulders. So we're going to press E, extrude, and we're just going to rotate this right away and scale it down a little bit. And let's press M and merge at center. There we go. We can move this up just a little bit so it gets a little bit more rounded. And then we can press, or sorry, we can hold Shift and double click on the edge loop right above that vertex and just move that down a little bit. So our arms get a little bit longer because I like long arms. All right, scale it up a little bit. Could be nice to scale this up in the X-axis a little bit more as well. Same thing for this edge loop right here on the arm, so the elbow. Let's double click on that and press S and X. That's looking quite all right. So now we've got our arms. Next thing, we need legs. So select your body once again. And for the legs, we're pretty much going to use these three faces right here. So let's turn off X-ray for now. We don't need it. So I want this whole part to become the leg. Of course, this is too big, so we're just going to press I to inset that to about there. I think that's a nice size to start off with. Right mouse, loop tools, circle. So there is our circle once again. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't really matter, but I just like to keep my geometry nice. So let's extrude this down. All right, so that's outward, but it's a start, I guess. Something we can actually do is extrude this first. Sorry, I think we have some duplicated edge loops now. So press Ctrl Z a few times, unless you see that shadow change right there, if you have the same issue. So press E, Z, and press SZ0. Okay, so we're going to press Ctrl R and add an edge loop right here, just to move this closer to the body so our edge is a little bit stronger. Right, so you can actually see where the legs start and where the body ends. We can actually do the same thing for the arms. So select your body, press tab, and we could try and actually, do we want it for the arms? We can try. So we add an edge loop right there and move that all the way to the right. And we can scale this down just like this. So I just made my proportional edit tool very small like this. We have to decrease this one a little bit as well, like so. So now we can actually see where the arms are coming out, and it looks quite all right. We are going to apply both of the mirror modifiers. So let's do Ctrl A on that mirror modifier. Do the same thing for the body. Hover your mouse over it and press Ctrl A. There we go. Now select both of them and press. We can actually join them together. So press Ctrl J. So now this is one object. And I'll press tab, and now let's just join them together in a way that we feel like is nice. So first things first, I'm going to delete both of those top vertices, delete vertices. So now we've got a hole in our head and in our body. And the easiest way to just join this is double click those edge loops, and this one as well. Right mouse, loop tools, circle, and then just press right mouse, and there should be an option called, let's see, bridge edge loops. There it is, bridge edge loops. Now we've got a neck. What I'm going to do though is scale this all down just a little bit and press S and Z, scale it a little bit up in the Z axis. Press Ctrl R and scroll up once. So you've got two edge loops, left click and escape. Press S and Z and just scale that up. So you've got some nice hard corners right there. So this is our neck now, and that's looking fine. We could even dissolve this bottom edge loop. So double click in in edit mode, right mouse and select dissolve edges. There we go. So now it moves smoothly to the body. But we've got this nice hard connection to the head. Beautiful. So this is our main body. All right. So first things first, we are going to need to see what Spider-Man looks like. And that's going to be quite interesting. So what we're going to do is press Shift A, image reference, and I've already downloaded the reference image. Your reference image will be attached as well. I'm using this one. So press G and X. And like I said, you can find yours in the description somewhere. And we're going to scale this. So press S and scale. Press G and X. Move that away a little bit, just so it is not in the way. And this is what Spider-Man looks like. So what we're just going to do is create this webbing with the geometry that we have right now. And I will show you how in just a second. First, we need to define where this webbing needs to be. And we're just going to roughly match this shape right here. All right, so we're going to press Tab. And we're going to select all of the faces that we need to create this nice texture. Right, so I want it to connect or think right here to where the shoulder starts. I'm not going to take this one into account. For now, it's going to be too difficult. So this is going to be blue, this is going to be blue, this is going to be blue. So what we're going to do is, I should have done this a little bit different, but it's all right. So we're going to select the same things on the other side, hold Shift and just double click, and hold Shift and just select what you need to select. All right, so this is going to be blue, and the pants is pretty much going to be blue up to the point where the shin pretty much starts, so below the knee. So what we're going to do is hold Shift and just double click that right there, and double click that one as well. That should be blue, and actually it should be blue up to about there. So let's see what happens if we add an edge loop. Yeah, that's going to mess around a little bit. So what we're just going to do is add an edge loop right here. First of all, let's go to the object data properties. Let's go to the vertex group, hit a plus sign, and hit assign. So now we've got those faces assigned to a vertex group. So that's perfect. Now when we hit tab or select something else, we can always select this group by hitting the select button right there. Right, so what we're going to do is add an edge loop right here, like so. So this is where we're going to be where the pants start. That's looking fine. We're going to press tab. We're going to hit select on that group, and we're going to select this one and this one. And the reason why I select this is just to look what is selected that doesn't need to be selected. So I want this line right there to be red, not blue. So I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to hit remove in the group. So now those two vertices are going to be removed from the group. Oh, sorry, those two faces. And actually, those two are deleted as well for some reason. So we're going to select that group, and we're going to hit assign once again with those two selected. We're going to select this one and this one, and this one is still on that one, and hit remove. Now select our group. All right, we also need to delete this one, so hit remove. And now just select your group once again, and select everything that you need that had just been deleted. So this is pretty much what I want to make blue. So go ahead and assign that once again. But right now we've got the right geometry selected in the group, and we can start making the pants. Or sorry, the blue parts. So now when we add a new window, so go into the top right where this little cross icon appears, left click and drag this to the left. And let's set this window to shader editor. And let's go to rendered view in the left window. So select this button right there, viewport shading. Right now it is an Eevee. I'm going to go to my render settings, render properties, and I'm going to change this to cycles, and I'm going to set my device at GPU because my GPU is a lot faster. I'm going to right mouse my model and select shade smooth. So there we go. We've got one hard edge, and that's where the pen starts. So I'm totally fine with that. It actually adds some nice geometry. And right now we are going to go to shade this. So click your character, hit the new material, And let's change the base color of our Spider-Man to red. Something like this, and it may be a little bit too red. So this is red. We want that other color, blue, to appear on the spots that we just added, right? So what we're going to do is go to the material tab right there, hit plus, hit new, there we go. Then we go to the object data properties. We're going to press tab in the left window on our model. It is still selected, but if it isn't selected for you, you can hit select right there. And then it is selected, and go to your material. Select the second one and hit assign. It is now blue. We want that to be, sorry, it is now white. We want it to be blue. So we're going to set this color to blue and a little bit darker and a little bit less saturated as well. Something like this is actually looking great. Next up, we want to create that Spider-Man webbing. So to create this, we need to think a little bit about how we make those lines. So right there, they're black. I know another Spider-Man suit where they are actually geometry, and that's what we're going to use right now. So what we're going to do is press tab on our spider guy, click away, select it. All right, press A and select deselect. All right, so for some reason, it's just not selecting everything. So we're going to have to add some of the faces manually. Right, now I'm going to press notepad 3, and I'm going to press Shift D, Escape, P, Selection. So now we've got this suit part as a different object. And you can see that we added one too much face, and just delete that in edit mode. There we go. I'm going to press tab, and I'm going to actually double click this edge loop right there. Hold shift and double click this one as well. And this one, double click, double click, double click. All right, so right mouse and dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. Where is dissolve? Dissolve edges. There we go. So now it looks a little bit different than our suit, but that's totally fine, because what we just want to do is select those vertices right here, and let's press G and Z like this. I press G and X, move them out a little bit like this. That's fine for now. So before we do anything else, we want to see how this looks with actually wireframe. So with those webbings. So what we're going to do is go to the modifier properties, and we're going to add a modifier, and we are going to add a wireframe. All right, so right now it is a little bit too big, right? So what we can do is actually set this subdivision modifier to maybe 1. That's already looking way better. Maybe we don't even need that. All right, so that's looking a little bit weird. So we want at least 1, I think. And now we can actually try and add a shrink wrap modifier like this. And we want the target to be this body. All right, so that's fine. We are going to try and move this in front of different modifiers. And we are just going to add the offset a little bit more, something like that. That's looking great. I'm going to press tab, and you can see that it doesn't work at all points, and that is because we've got differences in where the points are compared to where the shrink wrap object is. So for example, these points are on the outside. If we hit tab, on the outside of the mesh, and these are on the inside. So that means that when we offset the wireframe modifier, or sorry, the shrink wrap, these points are going to be moved outwards, and these points are going to move inwards because those are already inside the mesh. So we're going to have to move those points outside of the mesh, something like this, and that one as well. Just move it outside a little bit. It's looking fine. You can always make some tweaks in the armor. For example, if you think this should be a little bit more to the right, you just move it a little bit more to the right. Like so. You can do the same thing for the right side, or you can simply enable the mirror mode, which should be somewhere on the side. There it is. So going to edit mode, then we can select the Y symmetry. So when we move this one, the right one will move as well. So that one, absolutely great. Move this in a little bit, move this down a little bit. Let's enable X-ray mode for now, because we want to see what is inside of our mesh. All right, so we might have to scale this whole neck part up a little bit. Right, just select that whole loop. You may have to double click a little bit more. That is because we used the circle loop tool. That's just, it is not a loop anymore for some reason. So we're going to press S and scale this up a little bit. Just so that webbing is now outside of our mesh. We can fix that by simply moving some points outside of the surface. Like so. Same thing for, let's see, this one. All right, so I think this is fine for now. For now, we've got that webbing set up, and we can actually make this a new material. So let's delete both of those, hit plus, hit new, and let's make this black, like that. That's already looking great. And we can even tweak this a little bit by maybe decreasing the thickness on the wireframe a little bit. Maybe even more. Wireframe thickness down. We can even play with the offset of that one a little bit to move it maybe in a bit. So I think that's looking dope. Actually, the head is not looking that great. But let's see. Let's not move it in too much in that case. Maybe something like that. All right. So I think that is fine. Let's try and focus on, let's see, the eyes now. So we're going to take a little bit of a shortcut on this one. We're going to press Shift A, mesh plane. Press G and X, move that out a little bit. Let's go back to object mode for now. Press R, Y, 90. Scale this down. Press numpad 3, and let's make the eye. So scale this down. Move that to the side a little bit. And let's press tab. So we're going to try and recreate that. And actually, we can do that even easier if we do this, scale that down, and let's disable proportional editing tool. And now we're just going to make the eye shape. And just select vertices and move them around. Make sure that you maintain that quad ratio. So you have 4 points for each face. And now just select an edge and press Ctrl and right click. Something like this. And for the final one, we can just merge this point at the center. So press M and just merge at center. There we go. That's looking beautiful. That's an eye. Now add a modifier, Subdivision Modifier, and set this to maybe 2. Right, so that is our initial eye shape. Let's see how that looks on our character. Not too bad, actually. We can add some new geometry if we think that is necessary. For example, if we think we need a bit of a sharper corner, we can make that happen like so. That's looking fine. Move that to the side and scale it down a little bit. So this is Spider-Man's eye. It is, of course, not located anywhere near the body, but we can fix this with the shrink wrap as well. So press G and X and move that as close to the face as possible. Even rotate this around the Z axis, so press R and Z. Just so every point is as close to your face as possible. And then just add a modifier, shrink wrap. Where is the shrink wrap? I'm never able to find it. There it is, shrink wrap, and just add the round cube. So the first object we created. Now we could just add a little bit of an offset, move that out. So make sure that it is just outside of our wireframe. There we go. Right mouse shade smooth, and you can still tweak some of the shapes. If you think it is too small, you can just move this out a little bit. Move this out a little bit as well. Something like this. Maybe move this one out. Something like that. And we can always try and move the shrink wrap in front of our subdiv. That can sometimes make it look a little bit better. And then, of course, you have to make the offset a little bit bigger as well for some occasions. So you may notice that now it is too much outside of your face, which is totally fine, because you are almost never really going to see that. And you can always move it back. What we can do is just move it to about there, add modifier, solidify, and add a solidify modifier just before your subdiv, right there. And then just increase the thickness until all of it disappears. There we go. Nice and beautiful. So that is an eye of Spider-Man. If you want to create the black and whites, we can make this initial material. So go to materials, hit new, make this black, just completely black for now. And now we want that inside to be white. So we can hit tab and we should be able to just duplicate this, scale it a little bit. Let's see, scale it even more, something like this. And what we can do now is just go to modifiers and offset this wireframe a little bit more. Or sorry, the shrink wrap. And now it is just a little bump. Or sorry, that's a little bit too much maybe. Something like this should be fine. For the top part, do we mind actually? I think, no, it is actually resembling Spider-Man quite nicely. So select it, go to materials, hit this little button right here, new material. It's still black, so now make it white. There we go. Right mouse, set origin to 3D cursor. Do the same thing for the outside, origin to 3D cursor. Now add a modifier and add a mirror. Mirror, there it is. Change it from X to Y. Press Ctrl A, something doesn't work. There we go. Now you can see that once you applied that modifier, the other modifiers are going to look a little bit weird, and that is because we applied the scale. So before we apply that modifier, we are first going to apply the others. So the shrink wrap, the solidify, the subdiv, and then the mirror, not yet. First apply the scale and all transforms by pressing Ctrl A, all transforms. There we go. Now you can apply a mirror, but it doesn't really need to be done. So for the inside of the eye, do the same thing. Apply all the modifiers except the mirror. We don't even have a mirror yet, so that's fine. Now add a mirror, set this to Y. Go to your left screen, press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. There we go. So now let's see what this looks like in rendered view. So that's a nice little Spider-Man puppet right there. We're going to press Shift A, mesh plane, press GZ, move this down to about where the legs start or the feet. There we go. Scale this up. Just like this. Let's press numpad 0 and select our camera, press Shift F and just move your camera to a place that is a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to select my point light. I don't really like it, so I'm going to set this to an area light. I'm going to press G and just move this, rotate this. I think I want to have a little bit of a backlight, something like that. Press R and Z, move that a little bit, rotate that to your Spider-Man. Press R. And let's increase the size a little bit. So increase, instead of a rectangle, I want this to be a square. And I'm going to increase the size just so that shadow on the ground gets a little bit more rough or more faded away. So press numpad 0, let's see how that looks. That's looking nice. I want to have like this nice edge light around him. Maybe a little bit more from one side, like so. And let's make it stronger, maybe 5,000 will do. There we go. That's looking fine. I'm going to press Shift A, mesh, and plane. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to select our plane on the ground and select the back edge by pressing 2 on your keyboard and then selecting the edge and then press EZ. There we go. And then we're going to select this edge in the middle, press Ctrl B, move that out, and scroll up a few times, like so. And now we've got a nice rounded edge right there. Right mouse, shade smooth. And the reason why we do this is that when we now press numpad 0 for the camera, we get this nice solid background that has no hard edges whatsoever. So of course our lamp is now a little bit too close to the ground to actually have a nice gradient shadow. So what we can do actually is press GX and GY and move this the background of that plane, like so. And scale the back plane up in a Y direction, press SY, and just scale it up. And move our plane a little bit more, so it is completely outside or behind our plane. Just like that. And now there's no light. Of course not, because we wouldn't have a nice big plane in front of the light. Select that plane, go to the object settings, and let's go to visibility and uncheck shadow. There we go. We now have our light back from this plane in the back. Maybe move it up a little bit, like so. And we can even make it stronger now. So maybe set this to 15,000, because it's a little bit more in the back now. It is a little bit further away, so we need it stronger and also a little bit bigger to get all of those nice shadows back. Make sure that it stays behind your plane, doesn't get in front, something like this. Looking fine. Let's make this a little bit stronger, 50k maybe. That's looking fine. I'm going to select my plane, hit new, and let's see how this looks like if we make it black. That's looking nice. What I want to do is duplicate this light, Shift D, and move this in the Y direction. So press Y, like this. Press RZ, move this around. Press GX and GY, move that a little bit closer to your Spiderman. Maybe a little bit more from the side. So press GX, GY, GX, RZ. Rotate a little bit more, like this. So this is going to be our front light. It is too strong right now, so I'm going to set this at maybe 10k. Because we still want to be able to see this nice backlight coming from the right. Like so. That is looking beautiful. We can even decrease the roughness of our plane, maybe a little bit, so we get some cool reflections in that ground. We can even make it a little bit of a dark blue color, maybe, to match the suit. I think that's looking beautiful. And now let's see if there's anything that we need to tweak on the suit. I think we should move this out a little bit. So hit tab. Our mirror or symmetry is still on, so we can just move this out a little bit, like so. And maybe this one as well. And this one, like so. Right, so now that is a little bit more outside of the body. That's looking great. Let's see if we have to match this a little bit more to the actual suit. There we go. So we are not going to be able to get this completely perfect, and I think that's fine. All right, I'm just going to leave it like that. So I think that pretty much has been Spider-Man for now. I think that it looks all right. Maybe we should change some roughness settings of the suit. It is quite rough, so I'm going to swipe that all the way up. Same thing for the arm materials. Go to materials and select that arm. Just increase that roughness. That's looking fine. We can even add a little bit of a bump. Press Shift A. Noise texture. I keep selecting the white noise. Make sure it is the noise texture with a color ramp. With a normal map. There we go. Swipe that all in between. Connect the little dots. And connect it right there as well to the normal map. So right away you can see some weird shit happening. So let's first of all see how this noise texture looks. Let's swipe those blacks and whites a little bit close to each other so we can see what happens. Ctrl-Shift, click your color ramp. There we go. Let's increase the scale. We want some very small bumps just for the cloth material. Or cloth. I'm not sure what material it is, but we're just going to edit. Something like this. Now, Ctrl-Shift, click your normal map. Decrease the strength. Something like this. And now Ctrl-Shift, click your print spot, and let's see how it looks. So now you see some small bumps right there. We can even decrease this strength a little bit more. Something like that. So now you've got some small bumps on your suit. They can be a little bit more, actually. Something like that. Some nice small bumps. The same thing we can do for that blue material. Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. Just try it and see if it works in this material, and then you know it is copied for sure. Go to the second material, press Ctrl-V, and connect that as well. There we go. So in this one, you can see it a little bit worse, but we can actually make this scale a little bit bigger, or sorry, smaller, because we want to see some nice spots in here, and maybe a little bit more rough, a bit more detail. Ctrl Shift, click your color ramp, see how it looks. All right, just swipe them a little bit closer. There we go. Ctrl Shift, click your pin spot. You could try and increase the strength of your normal map a little bit more. Something like that. That's looking fine. Maybe we can even decrease the roughness on that one a little bit. That should make it a little bit nicer. All right, something like that. I think that's looking nice. It looked like Spider-Man for sure. It looks like quite a derpy version of him, but I like it. The hardest part will always be this webbing right here. I think we did it on quite a nice way right here, but some parts need a little bit of tweaking. I'm not going to do that right now. You can do that for yourself if you'd like that. You can just move them all out a little bit, or you can, for example, move this whole edge loop a little bit down like this. So it is matching a little bit more to where your arm would start, like this. Same thing for the legs. For example, select your legs, double click on the bottom edge loop, and just move that down a little bit, like so. Just try some different stuff. The difference in your webbing and your red suit underneath is simply because we have different modifiers on. So the thing is, we've got this one on 1 and this one on 2. So if we set this one on 2 from the start, then we won't really have that issue, but then our webbing will be too small, in my opinion. So I think this is a nice middle ground. You can always try and change the materials or change the offset on the shrink wrap. If you increase this, of course, it's going to look a little bit better on some parts, but it's also going to be worse on other parts. So try and find a middle ground in that, or if you really have to, just add edge loops. For example, like that. That is always one way to fix some problems. You can do it here as well, like that. I'm going to Ctrl Z that. Some like this, like that. So now it is more outside of your character and it's looking fine. You can double click this whole edge loop and scale it up a little bit. So you can see that when the black values are outside of your red values, the suit is going to look nice. And if they are clipping a little bit like there, you can see that it looks a little bit worse because the webbing will not be completely on top of your character. You can see that we also need another edge loop right there. Great. And I think now it's looking fine. Right? So you can always move them away from your character, or down or up. Just make sure that your black values are outside of your red values, because the blacks are the suit and the reds are the blacks are the webbing and the reds are the suit. I think that's looking fine. We can try even to change this color a little bit to match your suit more, maybe. Could give a nice look. I actually like it when it is black. So make that back to black. Maybe decrease the roughness a little bit. That's looking fine. Or improve it. It doesn't really matter. Just play around. So I'm going to leave it like this because I like it. I'm going to select this light and press Shift D, press Y, press RZ. Scale it down a little bit. I want some edge lighting from that side as well, and maybe make it a little bit blue or maybe orange. Orange works quite nice in a lot of renders, simply because it can resemble a lot of things: a street light, a car light, an explosion. Your brain will probably think of something that can match the orange light. Same thing goes for yellow light. Blue light can be there as well, because it can be a reflection of the sky, for example. You can even make that stronger if you want, maybe 100K. Increase the size of that one. something like that. Looking fine. You can even move that up like this, or move it more to the right of the character. If you want more light to hit the actual character, you can make it stronger again. Just play around. I like the way this looks. It adds those nice details on the bumps. You can see that the bumps in the light are a little bit too strong now. So play around with those values until you've got the right value. Same thing on the suit. So on the red values, go to your red material right there and decrease that strength just a little bit. Like so. You can also try to connect the color ramp to your displacement. That might look even better. So search for a displacement map and add that in between instead of the normal map, and connect it to the height instead of the normal, and just decrease the scale until it is a subtle, perfect little detail. So maybe 0.05, maybe a little bit less even, 0.02. That's looking fine. You can't really see it now, so let's maybe do 0.05 anyway. Yeah, just like that. And if you are completely satisfied with your model, you can just press render image. There we go, rendering out our nice Spidey.